It seems like everywhere you look in the photography world these days, there's a ton of buzz about like the next big thing, right?
Yeah.
And there's this one that really grabbed my attention.
Uh-huh.
It seems like Fujifilm is working on a camera that that's got a medium format sensor,
Oh, wow.
but in a body that's almost like APS-C sized.
Really?
Yeah,
That's crazy.
I know, right? Wild.
Absolutely.
So for this deep dive, you found some really fascinating stuff.
Yeah, looks like we've got a leaked press release,
Wow.
some transcripts of early hands-on impressions,
Okay.
and then, of course, all the good stuff from Fuji Rumors.
Of course, they always have the inside scoop.
Yeah, it seems like everything is pointing to this new Fujifilm GFX 100 RF, and it's supposed to be announced on March 20th.
March 20th, so just around the corner, basically. So
Yeah.
for everyone listening today, we just want to like cut through all the hype and really try to figure out like what is this camera?
Yeah.
What makes it special? What makes it different? And like most importantly, should you even care? So first, let's talk about this design because every leak I see is talking about how small this thing is.
Yeah, I mean, wild is really the perfect word.
Yeah.
We're talking a sensor that's 43.9 by 32.9 millimeters.
Okay.
And to put that into perspective, that's like 67% larger than a full-frame sensor.
So like how much bigger is that like in real world terms?
Well, think of it this way. A full-frame sensor is about the size of like a playing card.
Oh, okay.
So this is like having 1.5 playing cards stuck
Oh,
together.
wow. Okay.
And they've somehow crammed that into a body that's supposed to be around the size of a Leica Q3.
Which is already a pretty small camera.
Exactly. I mean, it's known for being pretty compact.
Yeah.
And some reports are saying it's barely bigger than a Fujifilm X-T3.
That's nuts.
I know, right? It's like photographic sorcery or something.
It really is.
And then on top of that, it only weighs 735 grams with the lens.
So, for those of you keeping score at home, the GFX 50R weighs 775 grams, and that doesn't even have a lens on it.
Yeah. Exactly. So this new camera is looking like it's going to be the featherweight champion of the GFX family.
So, for anyone out there who's like, they want to stay up to date with the latest camera tech, but they don't want to get bogged down with like, specs and stuff, this is kind of a big deal. Like the
Yeah.
fact that it's this small means that it could be a totally different experience using a medium format camera.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a big part of why they were able to make it so compact is because of the lens.
Oh, you mean because it's a fixed lens?
Yeah, exactly. It's a 35 millimeter f4,
Yeah.
and it's not interchangeable.
So in full frame terms, what does that translate to?
It's roughly equivalent to a 28 millimeter f3.2.
Okay, so you're getting that classic wide angle look that's great for like street photography and landscapes and just everyday stuff.
You got it.
But, having a fixed lens, that's a pretty big deal, right? I mean, no swapping lenses.
Right.
And f4 is definitely usable, but it's not exactly the fastest aperture out there.
Yeah, if you compare it to something like the Leica Q3, that's got a 28 millimeter f1.7, so a full 2 stops faster.
So that's the trade-off, right? You get this crazy portability, but you give up some aperture speed and the ability to change lenses.
Yeah, it's like the classic debate between zoom lenses and primes. You gain something, but you always lose something else too.
Yeah, it really just comes down to what you prioritize as a photographer.
Right, but I do think that fixed lens design is a big reason why they were able to make it so compact.
You mean because they could design the lens to be closer to the sensor?
Exactly, and that means the whole camera body can be much thinner.
That makes sense.
And there's some other cool benefits to having a fixed lens too.
Like what?
Well, for one, there's a built-in 4-stop ND filter.
Oh,
Yeah, that's really convenient because it means you don't have to carry around extra filters.
yeah, especially for like landscape photographers. That's a big deal.
Totally.
And what's this about a leaf shutter?
Oh yeah, that's actually a first for Fujifilm digital cameras.
Right.
It's more common in medium format cameras, like Hasselblad uses them a lot.
Okay.
But the main advantage is that you can sync your flash at any shutter speed.
So that's perfect for portrait photographers who want to use fill flash in bright sunlight.
Exactly. You can use a wide aperture to get that nice shallow depth of field and still have your flash perfectly synced.
That's really cool.
Yeah, so even though you're giving up the flexibility of interchangeable lenses, you're getting some pretty unique and powerful features in return.
That's a good point.
So, all right, let's talk about the sensor.
Yeah, that's the real star of the show, right?
It is, from what we've seen, it's a 102 megapixel Sony sensor.
Wow, 102 megapixels.
Yeah, but what's interesting is that Fujifilm is calling this a Generation 2 version.
What does that mean?
Well, they're saying that they've optimized the pixel structure and the micro lenses on the sensor.
So what does that mean for people who actually use this camera?
Well, basically, Fujifilm is promising better image quality in a few key areas. First of all, they're saying there's going to be less noise, which means cleaner images, especially in low light.
It's always good.
Yeah, and they're also saying the dynamic range is going to be wider.
And remind me what dynamic range is again.
Sure, it's basically how much detail the camera can capture in both the really bright areas and the really dark areas of an image.
Okay, that makes sense.
And on top of that, they're saying the images will be sharper even at the edges of the frame.
Oh,
And they're implying that this new sensor will also lead to more accurate autofocus.
so basically this is like a recipe for super high quality, super detailed images.
Yeah, pretty much.
And all of this is powered by their new X-Processor 5 engine, right?
Right. That's the same processor that's in their other high-end cameras.
Okay, cool.
Now, on top of all the specs, this camera also has some pretty unique features.
Like what?
Well, for one, there's a dedicated aspect ratio dial on the back of the camera.
Oh, wow, like a physical dial.
Yeah, so instead of having to go through menus, you can just turn the dial to switch between 9 different aspect ratios.
That's so cool. So you've got the standard ones like 3:2 and 16:9.
Yep, and some more unusual ones like 1:1, which is square format,
Yeah, okay.
and 7:6.
That's really neat.
Yeah, it's a very tactile way to change the composition of your photos.
And that kind of hands-on control is something that Fujifilm users really love, right?
Yeah, they're all about that tactile experience.
Okay. And then there's this crop lever.
Yeah, that's a pretty interesting feature.
I've never heard of a crop lever on a medium format camera before.
Neither.
So what does it do?
Well, it basically lets you digitally zoom in so you can extend the focal length of that 35mm lens.
So it's like having different lenses, but it's all digital.
Exactly.
Okay, so what kind of focal lengths can you get?
You can get 45mm, 63mm, and even 80mm equivalents.
And what is that in 35mm film terms?
That's like having 36mm, 50mm, and 63mm lenses.
Wow, so you've got a decent range of focal lengths to work with.
Yeah, and the best part is that the electronic viewfinder will show you exactly what part of the sensor is being used for each crop.
That's really clever.
Yeah, it's a great way to add versatility without having to physically change lenses.
And with a 102 megapixel sensor, you'd think you'd still have plenty of resolution to work with even after cropping.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's probably comparable to cropping in post-processing, but you're getting the benefit of doing it in camera.
Okay, so you've got a digital zoom on a 102 megapixel sensor. That's pretty wild.
It is.
Okay, and speaking of the viewfinder, there's this new surrounding view feature.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So what is that all about?
Well, it's basically designed to mimic the experience of using an optical viewfinder.
So those old school viewfinders.
Exactly.
Right.
So basically, the electronic viewfinder has a really high resolution. It's 5.76 million dots.
Okay.
But this surrounding view feature basically puts a frame around the actual image area. So it's kind of like looking through an optical viewfinder with a bright frame.
And this changes based on the aspect ratio you've chosen, right?
Exactly. And there's a lever that lets you quickly turn it on and off.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, and the viewfinder itself has a magnification of 0.84x, which is pretty decent.
So it seems like Fujifilm is really paying attention to the whole shooting experience. They're trying to combine the best of both worlds, like the old and the new.
Yeah, I think they're doing a good job of that.
Okay, so let's talk about autofocus and video.
Okay, well, it looks like it has AI-assisted subject recognition.
So what does that mean?
Well, they're using deep learning technology so the camera can recognize and track different types of subjects.
Like what?
Well, it can detect animals, vehicles, birds, and even aircraft.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, and this kind of AI autofocus is becoming more and more common in high-end cameras, so it's not a surprise to see it here.
Okay, and what about video? What can people expect from that?
Well, it can shoot 4K video at up to 30 frames per second,
Okay.
and it has 10-bit color depth.
Okay, so that's not like the most cutting edge video specs, but it's still pretty good, right?
Yeah, definitely. It's more than enough for most people.
And they're saying that the face and eye detection is more accurate in video mode.
Yep. And the subject tracking is supposed to be easier to use too.
Okay, cool.
And the default ISO for video is 100, which is pretty low.
So that means you'll get cleaner footage, especially in low light,
Exactly.
and it also supports F-Log.
Right, so that's a flatter color profile that gives you more dynamic range when you're editing,
And how much dynamic range are we talking?
over 13 stops.
Wow, so that means you'll have a lot more flexibility when you're color grading.
Exactly.
And it also seems like Fujifilm is embracing cloud-based workflows.
Yeah, it supports Frame.io camera to cloud.
So what does that mean?
Well, if you have a Wi-Fi connection, you can upload your photos and videos to the cloud automatically as you shoot.
Oh, wow, that's really convenient.
Yeah, it's great for professionals who need to back up their work or share it with clients quickly.
So you can basically skip the whole process of transferring files to your computer.
Pretty much.
That's awesome.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the features and the tech, but what about the actual build quality and the practicality of using this camera?
Yeah, like what's it like to hold and use?
Well, we know that the top plate is made of aluminum.
Okay, so that means it's probably pretty sturdy.
Yeah, it should feel pretty solid in your hand.
And what about the rest of the body?
The leaks haven't said anything about the material for the rest of the body.
Okay.
But what is important is that it has weather sealing.
Oh, good.
Yeah, so it should be fine in light rain or dusty conditions.
That's really important for a camera that's designed to be portable.
Exactly. You want to be able to take it anywhere without worrying about the weather.
And what comes in the box besides the camera?
Well, you get a lens hood
Okay.
and a standard camera strap.
Anything else?
Yeah, and this is actually a first for the GFX series, but it's going to come in two colors,
Really?
black and silver.
A silver GFX. That's awesome.
Yeah, I think it'll be popular with people who like that classic look.
Yeah, definitely.
So, okay, when can you actually buy one of these things?
And how much is it going to cost?
Right. Well, it looks like it'll be available sometime in April.
Okay, so not too long to wait.
Nope.
And what about the price?
The rumors are saying it'll be around 5,500 euros.
Okay, so that's a pretty penny.
Yeah, that's definitely an investment.
But some people are saying it might actually be cheaper than some of its full-frame competitors.
Yeah, that's what's interesting. You might be able to get a much larger sensor for less money than a full-frame camera.
But, of course, you're stuck with that one lens.
Right, that's the trade-off.
So who do you think this camera is competing with?
Well, the market for compact cameras with sensors larger than full-frame and fixed lenses is pretty niche.
Yeah, that's true.
But the most obvious competitor is probably the Leica Q3.
Right, that makes sense.
I mean, the Leica has a full-frame sensor and a faster lens,
Yeah.
but it's also really expensive.
Yeah, it's definitely in the same price range.
And I guess you could also consider the Sony RX1R2.
Oh, yeah, that's another one with a full-frame sensor and a fixed lens.
Right, but that camera's pretty old now.
So it's not really using the latest technology.
Yeah, I think Fujifilm is really trying to carve out their own space in the market with this camera.
Yeah, it seems like they're not afraid to try new things.
Yeah, they've always been known for their innovative designs.
And this GFX 100 RF definitely fits that description.
It does. They're not just copying what everyone else is doing. They're really trying to push the boundaries.
Okay, so to wrap things up for everyone listening, the big takeaway here is that this new Fujifilm GFX 100 RF could be a game changer.
Yeah, it really could.
We're talking about the potential to get amazing medium format image quality in a camera that's surprisingly small and portable.
Exactly. It's like the best of both worlds.
But of course, there's that trade-off with the fixed lens.
Right. You have to decide if the portability is worth giving up the flexibility of interchangeable lenses.
And the faster aperture.
Right.
But what's really exciting is that you're getting this incredible 102 megapixel sensor in a camera that's actually designed to be carried around.
Yeah, and all the features, like the aspect ratio dial and the crop lever, they all point to a really unique and enjoyable shooting experience.
And the image quality from a camera this small could be absolutely stunning.
Can't wait to see what people do with it.
So here's the question I want everyone to think about.
Uh-huh.
You've got this huge sensor, you've got portability, but you're giving up lens choices and a faster aperture.
Okay.
Does this approach to medium format photography appeal to you?
Right.
Like, what kind of creative possibilities does it open up for you? Is the convenience of having a small, easy to carry camera enough to make up for those limitations?
Yeah, those are the big questions.
It's definitely something to think about.
It is?
And luckily, we don't have to wait too long to find out more.
Yeah.
The official announcement is on March 20th.
Yep, just a few days away.
So we should get all the details then, and we'll finally know what Fujifilm is really going for with this camera.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how it's received by the photography community
Me too.
and what kind of impact it has on the camera market as a whole.
It's definitely going to be interesting to watch.
It is.
I'm excited to see what happens.
Me too.
All right, well, that's all the time we have for today.
Okay,
Thanks for listening.
thanks.
We'll be back soon with another deep dive.
See you then.